boy, oh boy, there is some data in Florida that is kind of worrisome. And we want to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly when we're looking at this data every single week. And in Florida, and definitely in some markets, there are some things we want to take a look at.
How many loans do you write each month?
About 60.
Yeah. So how many of these are adjustable rate mortgages?
Well, most.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about 90%. Adjustables are bread and honey.
So do applicants ever get rejected?
Seriously?
Well, my firm offers ninja loans. No income, no job. I just leave the income section blank if I want. Corporate doesn't care.
So that's a clip from the movie The Big Short, where Michael Burry made a huge investment betting against the housing market, and boy, did that pay off. And what he showed in that clip was that things were so different. I remember back then there was very little qualification. Banks, the appetite for mortgage-backed securities was unbelievable. There were adjustable rates, very low qualification to get a mortgage. And at the same time, you had unemployment shoot to double almost what it is now. And it was just a different time. Banking regulations, if you went through the loan process anytime recently, we're checking debt ratios and income. There's not these no asset or crazy loans that allow low down payment and people that are not qualified to get a home. But with that being said, even with foreclosure rates and these things staying really steady, which is actually good news, there are markets, especially here in Florida, that I want to take a look at. And this is an article that shows just how different each area of Florida is. So much of Southwest Florida housing market remains in correction mode. And we're gonna call correction mode anything 15 to 20%. I'm not gonna go through this whole article just for time's sake, but they use this house as an example, this house for almost $900,000, which is really nice. And it started at almost 1.15 million and is still on the market for 900,000. They do this really cool graph, and I really like this. They show since 2022, the market shift. And why are they using 2022 is because that's when rates started shooting up, right? We got almost to 8%. Now we're in this kind of 6.75% range. So this is when rates started shooting up. So when we look at this graph, they have the whole US up about 2.6%. I looked it up, Orlando's around 1%. So below this, we've had a little bit of depreciation since 2022. Jacksonville, Tampa, Naples, all these down, but these are down from 2022. So they're not massive differences in the price since prices got much more expensive. Cape Coral, 13.7%, and Punta Gorda, 18.6%. And they go over the 5 big reasons why. And again, I'm going to go through these kind of quick just for time's sake, but the housing boom, domestic migration surge to Florida has fizzled out. Like, let's face it, we had this massive, look at 314,000 people in 1 year. Now we're down to 64. Florida is still one of the areas a lot of people migrate to, but it is way down from then. To the Surfside condo fallout, that was the big collapse in Miami, which made condos much harder to qualify for. We could literally do a whole video on that. The Hurricane Ian spurring a greater Southwest Florida softening. All the damage massively started increasing insurance rates, which is going to be one of the factors here. New construction supply elasticity, meaning builders continue to build where active listings now exceed pre-pandemic 2019 levels, meaning they're building into a market that was getting softer. And then 5, homeowners insurance shocks, which obviously is a big one. If you're buying a house in Florida, homeowners insurance is where people save the most money on their payment. And homes that are a little newer and that don't have deferred maintenance, just going to get lower insurance rates, and that can make a huge difference, especially when someone's trying to qualify. What is also going to make a huge difference is interest rates, and will the Fed help? The Fed really just expecting tariffs to affect the market, and it just really hasn't yet. In some areas you can start to see with CPI and some of these other things, but not really, right? We're not getting big increases in inflation, at least not as of yet. And so when we look at the Fed watch tool here for July, it's almost 100% that the Fed is not going to cut rates. They're just not going to cut rates in July. But when we go in September, it's about a 50-50 shot. And when we look at a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, we can see still trading in the 6.75% range. Now, I want to show this because I had someone ask me about rates. I'm going to use Pickard and Rocket Mortgage, and every bank's different. This is a 30-year fixed rate. They're advertising 7.125%, paying 2 points. There's a massive amount of extra cost to get that rate. So this is just the scale that we step on every week to look at the trend. So what is the trend? The trend is this. The magic number for me is 6%. So when we look at these videos, I want to look at a couple things. One, if inflation goes up and unemployment goes up and GDP drops, that's what you call stagflation. That would be really bad. The Fed does not really have a tool to do anything about that. So that's what the big worry is if we actually were to get stagflation. What I think is likely to happen is inflation is likely to stay steady, unemployment is going to tick up, GDP is going to tick up if you look at a lot of things in the economy, and that is going to put the Fed in the position to cut rates, which is why I think rates will get lower, but not anytime in the next couple months. And 6% being the magic number, at 6%, we get a big increase every time in mortgage applications and inventory where people with lower rates can finally put those houses on the market. So we're going to track all that data more. If you're a real estate agent, I have the same idea of how to use this data every time. And that's not at all. We are going to be heading into a more friendlier market if you're a real estate agent. But a daily success plan to me is going to be what's going to make a difference in a big, big way, especially with AI. AI makes it easier to do social media, easier to get data, easier to do all these things. What it doesn't make easier to do is where the money's going to be at. A few ideas that you want to be leaning into. Are you doing events or bringing people together where you're able to do your message other than social media? And are you willing to pick up the phone and make some calls? I would look at your business as 3 stools. 1, your social media part, which I call the icing, not the cake. 2, I call them one-to-many or one-to-one. One-to-many, doing events and things that bring people together, whether it's teaching them, home buyer seminars, you can do it through Zoom, whatever, where you're talking to many people at once, setting up a lot of one-on-one meetings. Even if you have a really good social media strategy, you've got to be able to pick up the phone and call. And a lot of agents are worried about getting on the phone, making call. Meanwhile, your past clients are getting called by other companies. You should call them first. So having a good strategy, doing other things that people don't want to do, that's what makes you authentic. AI can't do that, at least not yet. The robots haven't taken over. And so we still have to do the things again and again and again that other people won't do. Then rinse and repeat. And that's what you call a daily success plan. So we're going to track all this data and more. This is Race Robinson, your favorite Florida mortgage broker. Have a great day, great week. Call me for this or anything else. And if you want to sit down and go over daily success plan, I'd love to do it. Again, have a great day, great week. Talk to you soon.